The moment my mother-in-law's laughter cut through the Thanksgiving dinner, mocking the dress I wore and calling me cheap trash in front of the entire family, I calmly placed the safe deposit key on the table. This wasn't just a key. This was the end. When my lawyer stepped through the kitchen door at exactly 7 p.m., I knew it was time to turn the page. The secret I'd kept for 12 months, a $27 million inheritance, would be revealed right at this dinner table. My name is Rachel Monroe, and until tonight, I was the family joke. The Ashford dining room gleamed with its usual Thanksgiving perfection china plates arranged with military precision, crystal glasses catching the chandelier light, and the golden turkey presiding over it all like a false idol. The smell of cinnamon and sage should have been comforting, but in this house, even comfort came with conditions. "Rachel, dear," Vivian Ashford's voice sliced through the NFL commentary bleeding from the living room TV. My mother-in-law stood at the head of the table, her 66 years wrapped in Chanel and condescension. "That dress, is it from an outlet mall?" The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Forks paused mid-air. My sister-in-law Blair's phone appeared like magic, already recording. "You should be ashamed," Vivian continued, her laugh sharp as broken glass. "Walking into this house dressed like that. What must the neighbors think Mark married down far enough without you advertising it? My husband, Mark Ashford." The golden boy who'd peaked in high school offered his signature nervous chuckle. Not a word of defense, not even a glance in my direction. He just reached for his wine glass, as if watching his mother eviscerate his wife was part of the evening's entertainment. "Stand up," Vivian commanded. "Let everyone get a good look at this. Bargain basement special?" The words hit my chest like ice water, but I remained seated. My fingers found the cold metal of the safe deposit key in my pocket, a reminder that this performance had an expiration date. The irony wasn't lost on me. Vivian's house, mortgaged 3 times over, her BMW leased, her jewelry paste replicas of pieces she'd sold years ago. The Ashfords were masters of illusion, smoke and mirrors holding up a facade of wealth that had crumbled long before I married into this family. "I said stand up," Vivian repeated, her voice dropping to that dangerous whisper she'd perfected over decades of suburban tyranny. Around the table, the extended family watched with the hungry anticipation of vultures. Cousin Derek smirked into his bourbon. Aunt Patricia adjusted her glasses for a better view. Even teenage nephew Tyler looked up from his phone, sensing blood in the water. "Mom, maybe we should just eat," Mark finally offered, but his intervention was as weak as his spine. "Not until your wife learns her place in this family." Vivian's manicured nails drummed against her wine glass. "That synthetic fabric, that tragic hemline, honestly. Rachel, didn't your content strategy job at that little media company teach you anything about image? Maple and Finch Media?" She couldn't even get the name right, though I'd been there 5 years, climbing from coordinator to strategic management. But in Vivian's world, any success I'd earned was insignificant compared to the Ashford name, a name that hadn't meant anything real since the 2008 recession. "The clip." Vivian gestured at my hair. "Take it out. It looks like something from a dollar store." Blair zoomed in with her camera, her lips twisted in anticipation. "This is going to be epic," she stage whispered to Derek. I touched the vintage hair clip actually. It had belonged to Evelyn Carter, worth more than everything Vivian wore combined, but they didn't know that. They didn't know anything about Evelyn, or the 7 years I'd spent caring for her, or the trust she'd placed in me. They certainly didn't know about the document sitting in a safe deposit box at First National, waiting for this exact moment. The clock on the mantel showed 6:45 p.m., 15 minutes until the 12-month confidentiality period expired. 15 minutes until Alicia Hart would walk through that kitchen door with enough paperwork to rewrite the entire narrative of this family. "Are you deaf as well as tasteless?" Vivian's voice rose. I said, "I heard you." I replied quietly, my voice steady as granite. "I'm just choosing not to comply." The silence that followed was delicious. Vivian's face flushed crimson, her carefully Botoxed features struggling to express outrage. "Mark," she hissed, "control your wife." My husband shifted uncomfortably, caught between his mother and the woman he'd promised to cherish and protect. As always, Vivian won. "Rachel, honey, just do what she asks. It's Thanksgiving." I looked at him then, really looked at him, soft around the middle, thinning on top, the ghost of the quarterback who'd charmed me 8 years ago. When had he become so small? When had I stopped expecting anything more? "You're right," I said, standing slowly. "It is Thanksgiving, and I have so much to be thankful for." The key in my pocket felt warm now, pulsing with possibility. 7 o'clock couldn't come fast enough. 1 year ago, everything changed with a phone call at 3:17 a.m. "Rachel, it's Providence Hospital. Ms. Carter is asking for you." Evelyn Carter, my former neighbor from Providence, Rhode Island, who'd become so much more than that mentor, confidant, the grandmother I'd never had. For 7 years, I'd been the one who drove her to chemotherapy, held her hand through radiation, organized her medications, and simply sat with her when the pain made words impossible. That final night, she gripped my hand with surprising strength. "The lawyers will contact you tomorrow," she whispered. "Promise me you'll wait the full 12 months before telling anyone. Promise me you'll use that time to see who truly values you." She passed at sunrise. 3 days later, Alicia Hart from Hart & Associates sat across from me in a conference room, sliding documents across the mahogany table that would reshape my entire existence. The Carter Monroe Trust, $27 million, all mine, with one condition: absolute secrecy for 12 months. "Evelyn wanted to test your character," Alicia explained, her sharp eyes studying me. "And she wanted you to test theirs." The timing was almost poetic. Just 2 weeks before, Vivian had forced me to change clothes in the garage because my outfit wasn't appropriate for her book club meeting. Mark had watched from the doorway, saying nothing as his mother handed me a dress she'd bought at a thrift store. "More suitable for your station," she'd said. They called me the deadline chaser, mocking my salary, my apartment before marriage, my state school education. Vivian loved reminding everyone that Mark could have married the Morrison girl Old Money, Connecticut royalty. Instead, he'd chosen me, and somehow that was my fault, my debt to repay with endless gratitude and submission. But Evelyn had seen it all. She'd watched me return from family dinners with tear-stained cheeks. She'd listened to my stories about Mark's selective deafness whenever his mother attacked. She knew about the separate birthday parties, one for family where I wasn't welcome, one for Mark's obligation, meaning me. Document everything. Alicia had advised. Every insult, every humiliation. Build your case. So I did. Screenshots of Mark's text messages joking with Derek about his bargain basement bride. Videos Blair posted on social media, mocking my clothes, my car, my job. Audio recordings of Vivian's special dinners where she'd systematically dissect my shortcomings while Mark nodded along like a trained seal. 2 months before Thanksgiving, I made my master move. "Honey, we need to sign some paperwork," I told Mark one evening, sliding the post-nuptial agreement across the kitchen counter. "It's for tax purposes, liability protection for your family's assets." He'd signed without reading, too focused on the Eagles game, always too focused on something else. The document was ironclad separate property rights for all assets before and after marriage, with specific clauses about emotional abuse, public humiliation, and spousal betrayal. If Mark participated in or enabled family members to demean, insult, or humiliate me publicly, I could initiate immediate separation with no financial obligations to him. "Smart," Alicia had said when I'd brought her the signed documents. Now we prepare for the reveal. The preparation was meticulous. We established charitable accounts in Evelyn's name, a scholarship fund for Providence Public Schools, a women's shelter in Ridgefield, We organized every piece of evidence: emails, texts, videos, recordings. We even had affidavits from witnesses' neighbors who'd overheard Vivian's front lawn lectures about my inappropriate existence, co-workers who'd seen Mark dismiss me at company events. The safe deposit box at First National became my shrine to patience. Stock certificates, treasury bonds, real estate deeds. Evelyn's handwritten letters explaining her decision, and the crown jewel, a video Evelyn had recorded 2 weeks before her death. Rachel never asked for anything. Her voice was clear despite the illness. In 7 years, she never hinted, never hoped, never hung around for money. She loved me for me. That's why she deserves everything. Last week, I'd stood in that bank vault, running my fingers over the documents that would detonate the Ashford family dynamics. Alicia met me there for final preparations. "You could have left him months ago," she observed. "Why wait?" "Because Evelyn wanted me to see them clearly," I replied, "and I want them to see themselves the same way." The plan was surgical. Alicia would arrive at 7 p.m. sharp, exactly when the confidentiality period expired. She'd bring copies of everything: the will, the trust documents, the post-nuptial agreement, the evidence of systematic emotional abuse. We'd even prepared transfers for the charitable donations, ready to execute from my phone. "No revenge is sweeter than success," Evelyn used to say, but she was wrong about one thing. The sweetest revenge isn't just success, it's success witnessed by those who said you'd never amount to anything. As I stood in Vivian's dining room that Thanksgiving evening, feeling the weight of that key in my pocket, I thought about Evelyn's final words. "Make them choke on their cruelty, dear, with grace, with dignity, but make them choke." 6:58 p.m. 2 minutes until truth walked through that kitchen door. The final preparation had been surgical, every detail orchestrated with the precision of a conductor preparing for opening night. 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, Alicia Hart and I sat in her office overlooking downtown Hartford, spreading documents across her conference table like battle plans. The post-nuptial agreement Mark had signed was our cornerstone, his signature bold and careless, probably scrawled during a commercial break. "The beauty of this," Alicia tapped the clause about public humiliation, "is that Connecticut law recognizes emotional abuse as grounds for fault-based separation. Every video Blair posted, every group text where Mark participated in mocking you, it's all admissible." We'd created a digital fortress of evidence. Screenshots lived in 3 separate cloud servers. Videos were backed up to drives in Alicia's office safe. The crown jewel was a recording from last month's dinner where Vivian had actually said, "We need to break her spirit completely before she thinks she deserves better than this family." Mark's voice was clear in the response. "She won't leave. Where would she go?" "The charitable transfers need to happen simultaneously," I told Alicia. "I want them to see money helping strangers while they get nothing." We'd established 2 funds already. The Evelyn Carter Scholarship Fund would receive $2 million immediately specifically for students from working-class families pursuing higher education. The Ridgefield Women's Safety Center would get $500,000, earmarked for women escaping emotional and financial abuse. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. "Now, about the presentation." Alicia pulled out a leather portfolio. "I'll bring physical copies of everything: the will, the trust documents, bank statements showing the full $27 million, the post-nuptial agreement, and a printed transcript of the most damaging recordings." "What about Evelyn's letter?" "That's your ace." She handed me a sealed envelope. "Open it when you feel the moment is right. Evelyn wanted you to read it aloud to them." We rehearsed the reveal like a play. Alicia would enter at exactly 7 p.m., not a minute before or after. She'd approach slowly, let the tension build. Every word was chosen for maximum impact without legal vulnerability. "Remember," Alicia coached, "you're not threatening anyone. You're simply stating facts and boundaries. The post-nuptial agreement protects you from any claim Mark might make. The evidence protects you from any defamation suit they might attempt. You hold all the cards. 3 days before Thanksgiving, I made one final preparation. I visited First National Bank and withdrew $10,000 in cash, $100 bills, crisp and new. I placed them in an envelope marked Emergency Fund and locked it in my home safe. If things went badly, if I needed to leave immediately, I'd be prepared. "Why cash?" Alicia asked when I told her. "Because credit cards leave trails, and after tomorrow night, I want the option to disappear for a while if needed." She nodded approvingly. "You're thinking like Evelyn now." The night before Thanksgiving, I couldn't sleep. I sat in my home office, reviewing everything one last time. The trust documents naming me sole beneficiary, the scholarship fund paperwork with my signature as executor, the women's shelter transfer forms, ready to be initiated from my phone, the post-nuptial agreement with its beautiful clause about public humiliation being grounds for immediate separation with no financial obligations. I pulled up the folder of evidence on my laptop. 63 videos from Blair's social media, hundreds of screenshots from the family group chat I'd been added to and removed from repeatedly, depending on whether they needed something, audio recordings of 47 separate incidents of verbal abuse. My phone buzzed with a text from Alicia. "Final confirmations complete. All documents notarized and certified. The bank confirms funds are ready for immediate transfer. I'll be at the corner of Maple and 3rd at 6:55 p.m. tomorrow, ready to enter at exactly 7. Are you prepared?" I typed back, 12 months of preparation. I'm ready. The next morning, Thanksgiving Day, I chose my outfit carefully. The dress they'd mock was actually designer, bought from a consignment shop in Providence that Evelyn had loved. $600 originally. I'd paid $40, but the Ashfords would only see the polyester blend they expected to see. I put the safe deposit key on my keychain, feeling its weight like a talisman. In my purse, I placed my phone with the banking apps ready, the envelope with Evelyn's letter, and a small digital recorder as backup. Mark barely looked at me over breakfast. "Try not to embarrass me tonight," he muttered over his coffee. "Mom's already in a mood." "I'll do my best," I replied, practicing the calm tone I'd need later. At 6:30 p.m., as we drove to Vivian's house, Mark complained about his credit card being declined at the gas station. "Must be a banking error," he said. "You'll need to cover dinner tomorrow." I bit my tongue. After tonight, there would be no tomorrow dinner. There would be no tomorrow anything with Mark Ashford. As we pulled into Vivian's driveway at 6:45 p.m., I saw Alicia's BMW parked 3 houses down, waiting. The stage was set. The actors were in position. The final act was about to begin. The humiliation escalated like a symphony building to its crescendo. "Now that Rachel's standing," Vivian announced to the room, "we can all appreciate what budget fashion looks like. Turn around, dear. Show everyone the full disaster." I remained perfectly still, my eyes fixed on the grandfather clock. 6:52 p.m. I said turn around. Vivian's voice sharpened. "In this family, we follow instructions." "Babe, just do it," Mark muttered, his face flushed with wine and embarrassment. "Don't make a scene." The irony of him telling me not to make a scene while his mother performed her monthly character assassination was almost enough to make me laugh. Almost. Blair had switched to Instagram Live now. "You guys, you have to see this. My mother-in-law is destroying my sister-in-law right now. It's legendary." Her followers' comments streamed across the screen, laughing emojis, flame symbols, savage in all caps. "That hair clip?" Vivian continued, emboldened by my silence. "It looks like something from a child's dress-up box. Take it off. Now." Cousin Derek laughed, the sound ugly and mean. "Remember last Easter when she showed up in that cardigan from Target, I mean. We've all fallen on hard times. But advertising it, at least she's consistent," Aunt Patricia added, adjusting her knockoff designer glasses. "Consistently inappropriate." The hair clip Evelyn's vintage Cartier piece from 1958, worth more than Vivian's entire dining room, stayed firmly in place. "You know what the real tragedy is." Vivian moved closer, her breath sour with Chardonnay. Mark could have married anyone. The Morrison girl. The Vanderbilt cousin. Even that pediatrician from Greenwich. Instead, he chose... She gestured at me like I was Exhibit A in a cautionary tale. This... Mom. Mark's protest was weaker than watered whiskey. Come on. Don't come on me. Someone needs to say it. Your wife is an embarrassment. She walks into charity galas looking like she raided a clearance rack. She talks about her little content job like it's something important. She doesn't understand that in this family. We have standards. 6:55 p.m. Through the dining room window, I caught a glimpse of Alicia's silhouette approaching the side entrance. The worst part? Vivian was on a roll now, her audience captivated, is that she doesn't even try to improve herself. No effort to fit in, to elevate herself to our level. It's like she's purposely dragging the Ashford name through the mud. The Ashford name, I said quietly. My first words in 10 minutes. The room went silent. Yes, Vivian straightened, sensing victory. The Ashford name means something in Connecticut. It opens doors. It commands respect. It is attached to 3 mortgages, 2 tax liens, and a credit score below 600. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the NFL commentary from the living room seemed to pause. Vivian's face went from red to purple. How dare you! The Morrison girl married a neurosurgeon last spring, I continued, my voice conversational. The Vanderbilt cousin is engaged to a diplomat. The pediatrician from Greenwich just published her 3rd research paper. They all dodged a bullet, didn't they? You little... Vivian stepped forward, her hand rising. 6:58 p.m. I'd be very careful about what you do next, I said, pulling out my phone. Blair's not the only one who's been recording tonight. Blair's camera swung toward me, her mouth open in shock. You want to talk about embarrassment? I touched the screen, pulling up my banking app. Let's talk about last month when your credit card was declined at Whole Foods. Or August, when you had to borrow money from Mark to pay the country club fees. Money that came from my little content job. By the way... Shut up, Mark hissed, standing now. Shut up right now. Or what you'll let your mother humiliate me more. You'll laugh along with another joke about my clothes, my job, my existence. You'll text Derek later about how you're stuck with your discount wife. 6:59 p.m. That's enough. Vivian's voice had dropped to a dangerous whisper. You don't get to come into my house, eat at my table, and disrespect this family. You're nothing. You were nothing when Mark found you, and you'll be nothing when he's done with you. The kitchen door opened. Nothing, I repeated, looking Vivian directly in the eyes. You're right. I was nothing to you. The woman who paid for your groceries last month, who covered Mark's gambling debts, who never missed a birthday or holiday, despite being treated like a stain you couldn't remove. Footsteps in the hallway. Alicia's heels on hardwood, precise as a countdown. But you know what? I pulled the safe deposit key from my pocket, holding it up to the light. Being nothing to you is about to become the most expensive mistake you ever made. 7 p.m. Exactly. Alicia Hart entered the dining room, her presence commanding immediate attention. Navy suit impeccable, leather portfolio in one hand, expression professionally neutral. Good evening, she said. I'm Alicia Hart, attorney at law, executor of the Carter Monroe Trust. I believe we have business to discuss. The safe deposit key landed on the dinner table with a metallic clink that seemed to echo through the suddenly silent room. Evelyn Carter passed away 1 year ago today, I said, my voice steady as steel. She left me $27 million, and tonight, at exactly 7 p.m., I'm finally allowed to tell you about it. Vivian's laugh was sharp, disbelieving. This is ridiculous. Some pathetic fantasy. Mrs. Ashford. Alicia interrupted smoothly, opening her leather portfolio. I assure you, this is quite real. I have here certified copies of Ms. Carter's last will and testament, the Carter Monroe Trust documents, and current bank statements showing the full balance of the inheritance. She laid the documents on the table like playing cards, each one a devastating truth. The will, embossed with the Connecticut state seal. The trust documents, thick with legal language and notarized signatures. Bank statements from First National. The numbers clear and undeniable. $27,000. Mark grabbed the nearest document, his hands shaking. This can't be real. Oh, but it is, Alicia continued. I also have here a post-nuptial agreement, signed by you, Mr. Ashford, on September 15th of this year. She placed the document in front of him. You might want to review Section 7, Clause 3. Blair had stopped recording, her phone hanging limply in her hand. $27 million, Rachel has $27 million. Had it for a year, I corrected. While your mother called me trash, while Mark let her, while all of you treated me like a charity case you were forced to tolerate. Vivian snatched the bank statement, her eyes scanning frantically. This is fraud. It has to be. Old ladies don't just leave millions to the woman who cared for her for 7 years, Alicia interjected, who managed her medications, drove her to appointments, held her hand through chemotherapy, Mrs. Monroe was more family to Ms. Carter than any blood relative. I pulled out Evelyn's letter from my purse, the envelope still sealed with her personal wax stamp. She left me a letter, too. Would you like to hear what she had to say? This is a trick, Mark said desperately. Rachel, if this is some elaborate prank, I broke the seal and unfolded the heavy cream paper. Evelyn's handwriting still elegant despite her illness. My dearest Rachel, if you are reading this aloud, then you've waited the full year as I asked. You've shown the patience and grace I always knew you possessed. The money is yours, every penny. But more than that, you've earned something priceless, the truth about who really values you. I watched them diminish you. I saw the tears you tried to hide after their dinners. I heard about the cruelties dressed up as jokes, the constant erosion of your worth. They never saw you. Rachel, they saw only what they wanted to see someone beneath them. But you were never beneath anyone. You were the daughter I wished I'd had, the kindness this world needs more of. You loved me without condition or expectation. You never once asked about money, never hinted, never hoped. That's how I knew you deserved everything. Use this wealth to build the life they said you didn't deserve, and never, ever apologize for who you are again. With all my love, Evelyn. The room was tomb silent when I finished reading. Aunt Patricia had gone pale. Derek was staring at the bank statements like they might disappear if he looked away. Tyler had actually put his phone down. Now then, Alicia picked up the postnuptial agreement. Regarding the terms Mr. Ashford agreed to, in the event of public humiliation, verbal abuse, or complicit participation in family members' demeaning behavior toward Mrs. Monroe, she retains full rights to all assets acquired before and during the marriage. Furthermore, Mr. Ashford waives any claim to spousal support or property division. I didn't know, Mark started. You didn't read? Alicia corrected. You signed a legal document without reading it. The document is valid, notarized, and has been reviewed by 3 separate attorneys. I stood up, looking around the table at each face. Here's what's going to happen now. I'm setting 3 non-negotiable boundaries, and Alicia is here to witness them. Vivian tried to speak, but I held up my hand. 1. There will be no apologies for past humiliations unless you're prepared to acknowledge them publicly, the same way you delivered them. 2. There will be no requests for money, loans, investments, or financial assistance of any kind. The answer will always be no. 3. Any future interaction will require mutual respect. If that's impossible, then we have nothing left to discuss. You can't just, Vivian sputtered. Actually, Alicia smiled coolly. She can, and there's more. The post-nuptial agreement includes a fascinating clause about public humiliation. Would you like me to read it? She didn't wait for an answer. In the event that Mr. Ashford enables, participates in, or fails to prevent family members from publicly humiliating, demeaning, or emotionally abusing Mrs. Monroe, she may initiate immediate separation proceedings with no financial obligations to Mr. Ashford. Alicia pulled out her tablet, swiping to a video. Interesting thing about social media, everything is time-stamped. Blair's Instagram Live from tonight, for instance. The whole family laughing at Mrs. Monroe's outfit, Mr. Ashford telling her not to make a scene while his mother performed character assassination. All recorded, all public, all grounds for immediate separation under the terms you signed. Mr. Ashford. Let me be crystal clear about the boundaries, I said, standing at the head of the table where Vivian usually presided. These aren't suggestions, they're requirements. The room remained frozen. Every face turned toward me like flowers tracking an unexpected sun. First boundary. I held up one finger. No more public humiliation without public accountability. Every single person at this table who mocked me, who laughed at me, who posted videos of my embarrassment you want to remain in my life. You apologize the same way you attacked? Publicly. Blair. That means an Instagram Live admitting what you did. Vivian. That means acknowledgement in front of your book club, your country club, everyone you've told that your son married beneath him. You can't be serious. Derek finally found his voice. Deadly serious. Which brings me to the second boundary. I pulled out my phone, opening the banking app. No financial requests. Not for loans, not for investments, not for emergencies. The answer is no. It will always be no. Mark. That means your gambling debts remain yours. Vivian, your mortgage situation is your problem. The Bank of Rachel is permanently closed. But we're family, Patricia started. Are we? I asked. Well, was I family when you suggested Mark should get a paternity test for any future children because, and I quote, who knows what someone from her background might do? Patricia's mouth snapped shut. Third boundary, respect or removal. One more snide comment about my clothes, my job, my background were done. And thanks to this post-nuptial agreement, done means Mark gets nothing. No alimony, no property division, no claim to a single penny of the $27 million. This is extortion, Vivian hissed. No, Alicia corrected. This is consequence. Your son signed this agreement freely. Your family's behavior tonight has been documented. Mrs. Monroe is simply establishing terms for any future relationship. I looked at Mark, who seemed to have aged 10 years in 10 minutes. You have a choice. You can accept these boundaries and maybe we work through this, or you can refuse and we separate tonight. The post-nuptial is clear your mother's behavior tonight, which you enabled and participated in, constitutes grounds for immediate separation. Rachel, please, Mark's voice cracked. Let's talk about this privately. Like we talked privately after every dinner where your mother eviscerated me. Like we talked privately when you told Derek I was a temporary inconvenience until someone better came along. That ship has sailed. Mark. Alicia pulled out another document. There's also the matter of evidence. We have 63 videos from social media, hundreds of screenshots from family group texts, and 47 audio recordings of verbal abuse. Any attempt at retaliation, defamation, or harassment will result in immediate legal action. You recorded us, Blair gasped. Connecticut is a one-party consent state, Alicia replied smoothly. All recordings were legal. I turned back to the table. You know what the saddest part is? If just one of you had stood up for me, even once, we wouldn't be here. If Mark had said enough to his mother, if Blair had put down her phone instead of broadcasting my humiliation, if any of you had shown basic human decency, this could have been different. So what now? Vivian's voice had lost its edge, replaced by something hollow. You're just going to lord this money over us. No, I said simply. I'm going to live my life, without apologies, without shame, without making myself smaller to fit into your narrow definition of acceptable. Alicia handed me her tablet. Speaking of which, Mrs. Monroe has prepared some immediate charitable contributions to demonstrate her intentions with the inheritance. I looked at the screen, then at Vivian. $2 million to the Evelyn Carter Scholarship Fund for working-class students in Providence. $500,000 to the Ridgefield Women's Safety Center, specifically for women escaping emotional and financial abuse. That's $2.5 million, Mark stammered. Yes, and it's already done. I showed them the confirmation screen. Transferred while we've been talking, because unlike this family, I believe wealth comes with responsibility to help others, not hurt them. You can't just give away our money. Vivian started. Our money. I laughed, the sound sharp and bright. There is no our. There's my inheritance, my decisions, my boundaries. You don't get a vote. You never gave me one. The room erupted. Vivian shrieking about unfairness, Mark babbling about marriage vows, Derek muttering about gold diggers, Patricia frantically whispering to her husband. Only Blair remained silent, staring at her phone screen where her Instagram Live had exploded with comments. One more thing, I said, raising my voice above the chaos. Mark, you should know that your credit cards were declined today because you maxed them out. Again. The joint account is already separated. My lawyer handled that yesterday. Your financial disasters are now yours alone. You've been planning this, he said, the realization dawning on his face. For 12 months, I confirmed. Every insult, every humiliation, every moment you chose them over me, I remembered. I documented. I prepared. Alicia began gathering the documents. Mrs. Monroe will be staying at the Hartford Marriott tonight. Any communication should go through my office. Any violation of the stated boundaries will result in immediate legal action. Wait. Vivian stood, her face desperate. We can work this out. We're family. We can. Now I'm family. I picked up my coat. When I have money. Suddenly, I'm family. The silence was my answer. Before I leave, I said, pulling out my phone once more. Let me show you exactly what your cruelty has funded. The banking app opened to the confirmation screen. $2 million to the Evelyn Carter Scholarship Fund. Confirmed? Transferred? Done. I turned the screen toward them. This money will send 300 kids from working-class families to college over the next decade. Kids whose parents work retail, drive buses, clean houses, all those jobs you sneered at. Vivian's face had gone from purple to ash gray. $500,000 to the Ridgefield Women's Safety Center. Another confirmation screen. This will fund their expansion, including a new wing specifically for women escaping financial abuse. Women whose husbands and in-laws use money as a weapon, who are told they're worthless, who are made to feel small for not being born into wealth. Stop, Mark whispered. Please, just stop. Stop. Like you stopped your mother from humiliating me at Christmas dinner last year. Like you stopped Blair from posting that video of me crying in the bathroom at your father's birthday. Alicia pulled out her tablet, fingers flying across the screen. The transfers are irreversible, Mr. Ashford. The charitable donations are already processing. The foundations have been notified. Press releases will go out Monday morning. Press releases. Derek choked on his bourbon. Oh, yes. I smiled. The Evelyn Carter Foundation will be announcing their largest donor. My name will be on buildings. Derek. Scholarship recipients will know who made their education possible. While you're all scrambling to maintain your facade of wealth, I'll be quietly changing lives. This is vindictive. Patricia clutched her pearls paste. I noticed now, just like Vivian's. Vindictive. I pulled up another screen. Let me show you vindictive. Mark, remember that investment opportunity you begged me to ask about 6 months ago? The one with your college buddy? His face went white. You didn't... I did my research. It's a pyramid scheme. The SEC is already investigating. But don't worry. I didn't invest. I also didn't warn you. That $15,000 you scraped together from your mother gone by Christmas. I'd estimate. You knew. He stood, fists clenched. You knew and you let me. Let you what? Make your own choices. Experience consequences. Welcome to my world for the past 8 years. Blair finally spoke, her voice small. My followers are going crazy. They're calling me a bully. They're unfollowing by the hundreds. Actions have consequences, Alicia observed. Your video from tonight has already been screen recorded by multiple users. It's spreading across social media with hashtags like Don Rich Bully and I'm Thanksgiving Revenge. I looked at Blair, almost pitying her. Almost. You built your following on lifestyle content, right? Showing off the Ashford name, the supposed wealth, the superiority. Well, congratulations. You're about to go viral for all the wrong reasons. Make them stop, she pleaded. You have money now. You have influence. The same influence you said I'd never have. The same money you swore I'd never see. I shook my head. No. You posted it. You own it. Vivian suddenly lunged forward, grabbing the bank statements. 27 million. That's enough to save this house, pay off the mortgages, restore the Ashford name. The Ashford name, I repeated slowly. Let me tell you what your name is worth. 3 mortgages totaling 1.2 million, credit card debt across the family exceeding 300,000, a reputation at the country club for bounced checks. Your name is worthless, Vivian. It has been for years. How do you know? Because I've been paying attention. While you were busy mocking my shoes, I was watching your financial house of cards wobble. While you criticized my job, I was noting every declined card, every hushed phone call with creditors, every desperate shuffle to keep up appearances. Mark sank back into his chair. So what now? You leave me, take the money, and disappear. That depends entirely on you. I pulled out the postnuptial agreement, pointing to a specific clause. You have 72 hours to decide. Accept the boundaries, agree to counseling, and sign an addendum acknowledging your role in enabling abuse, or refuse, and we separate immediately with you getting nothing. That's not a choice, he protested. That's an ultimatum. It's the same choice you gave me every time you stayed silent. Stay and endure, or leave with nothing, except I'm offering you more grace than you ever offered me. Alicia's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then smiled. The Hartford Marriott confirms your suite is ready. Mrs. Monroe, the presidential suite, as requested. The presidential suite, Vivian's voice cracked. That's $800 a night. $850, actually, plus room service, and spa treatments, and anything else I want. I picked up my coat. Because I can, because I've earned it, because for the first time in 8 years, I don't have to apologize for existing. I walked toward the door, then paused, turning back one last time. You know what Evelyn told me once. She said the best revenge isn't anger or cruelty. It's living so well that those who hurt you become footnotes in your success story. Rachel, Mark stood, desperate. Please, let's talk. We can figure this out. My lawyer's number is on the documents. You have 72 hours. I looked around the room, memorizing their stricken faces. Oh, and Vivian. This dress. It's vintage Halston. Evelyn's. Worth more than your entire dining room set. But you only saw what you wanted to see. You always did. I stood at the threshold of Vivian's dining room, my hand on the doorframe, watching the devastation I'd orchestrated. The table that had been set for celebration now looked like a battlefield scattered documents, overturned wine glasses, and faces frozen in various stages of shock and disbelief. Wait. Vivian's voice cracked like thin ice. Please, Rachel, we can start over. We can... No. The word was quiet, but final. You can't unpour poison after it's been swallowed. You can't unsay words that have scarred. And you can't suddenly see my worth just because it has a $sign attached. Mark made one last desperate attempt. Our marriage, 8 years, doesn't that mean anything? I looked at him, really looked at him, the man who'd promised to love, honor, and protect, who'd stood by while his family shredded my dignity piece by piece. It meant everything to me, I said. That's why this hurts. That's why I waited 12 months to see if anyone would change, would grow, would choose me just once. But you didn't. Not once. Alicia stepped beside me, professional and composed. The 72-hour window begins now. All communication goes through my office. You planned this, Vivian said, her voice hollow. Every detail. I learned from the best, I replied. You taught me that in this family. Power is everything. The only difference is, I'm using mine to build rather than tear down. Tyler, who'd been silent throughout, suddenly spoke up. Aunt Rachel, I'm sorry. I never said anything, but I should have. It wasn't right. I paused, looking at the teenager who'd just shown more courage than any adult in the room. Thank you, Tyler. That matters. Don't apologize to her, Vivian snapped at her grandson. She's destroying this family. No, I said, pulling on my coat. This family destroyed itself with greed, cruelty, and hollow pride. I'm just refusing to be collateral damage anymore. My phone buzzed a text from the Marriott confirming my car service had arrived. Through the window, I could see the Blacktown car waiting, its lights cutting through the November darkness. Before I go, I said, turning back one final time, you should know that Evelyn saw all of this coming. She knew exactly what would happen when the money was revealed. She called it the Great Unmasking. She said money doesn't change people, it reveals them. I pulled out Evelyn's letter one more time, reading the postscript I'd kept to myself. P.S. My dear Rachel, when they show you who they really are and they will believe them, then leave with your head high and your heart free. You've spent enough years apologizing for who you are. Spend the rest celebrating it. Goodbye, I said simply. I walked through the foyer, past the photos of Ashford family gatherings where I'd been carefully cropped out or positioned at the edges, past the mirror where Vivian had once made me check my appearance because I looked too common for her book club. The November air hit my face like freedom itself, sharp, cold, and absolutely liberating. The driver held the car door open. The Marriott. Mrs. Monroe. Yes, I said, sliding into the warm interior. The presidential suite. As we pulled away, I didn't look back. Not at the house. Not at the shadow of Mark in the doorway. Not at the life I was leaving behind. My phone was already buzzing with notifications, the Scholarship Foundation acknowledging the donation, the Women's Shelter expressing tearful gratitude, Alicia confirming she'd filed the separation paperwork in case Mark chose poorly. But there was one final detail I'd saved for myself. I opened my banking app and navigated to a transfer I'd pre-scheduled for 7:45 p.m. Exactly. $5 million moving into a new investment account titled Rachel Monroe Enterprises. Because charity wasn't my only plan. I was going to build something, create something, become something that had nothing to do with the Ashford name or anyone's approval. The city lights blurred past the window as we headed toward Hartford, toward a suite with my name on the register, toward a future where I never had to make myself smaller, quieter, or less than I was. My phone rang. Mark's number. I declined it. Then Vivian. Declined. Blair. Derek. Patricia. All declined. Finally. A text from Tyler. You're a badass. Aunt Rachel. Grandma had it coming. I smiled, typing back, language, Tyler, but thank you. As the car merged onto the highway, I thought about Evelyn's final words to me in the hospital. Promise me you'll stop apologizing for existing. Rachel, promise me you'll take up all the space you deserve. I promise. Evelyn, I whispered to the night. I promise. The safe deposit key was still in my pocket, but it felt lighter now. Everything felt lighter. $27 million didn't just buy freedom. It bought the right to never sit at a table where I wasn't welcomed, valued, and respected. The Marriott's lights appeared in the distance, and I realized something profound. This wasn't about revenge. It never was. It was about revelation. The money hadn't changed anyone. It had simply revealed the truth that had always been there, hiding beneath the surface of family dinners and forced smiles. And the truth had finally set me free. The car pulled up to the hotel entrance. The doorman rushed to help me out. "Welcome to the Hartford Marriott, Mrs. Monroe. We've been expecting you." I stepped out, standing tall in my vintage Halston dress, Evelyn's Cartier clip still gleaming in my hair. For the first time in 8 years, I didn't check my reflection for approval. I didn't worry if I looked appropriate, acceptable, or adequate. I looked like $27 million. I looked like freedom. I looked like myself. And that was worth everything. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts. Your support means everything, and I can't wait to share more stories with you.